Hello, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan, and welcome to another virtual report. The Phoenix City Council approved using $2.6 million in federal corona relief funding to help artists who've been hurt because of the pandemic. Joining me now is Mitch Menchaca. He is the director of the Office Arts and Culture. Mitch, it's great seeing you.
Good morning. How are you?
Good morning. This is a huge chunk of money. Are these all grants, and how is the money going to be used?
It is a big chunk of money, and we're so excited and want to thank the mayor and city council for their support. It will go out into grants to nonprofit arts and cultural organizations, as well as individual artists. We have about 65 organizations across the city, everything from small literary organizations to major museums, and then artists of all types, from painters to potters to dancers to actors, all hurting financially because of the pandemic.
So how is the money going to be actually dispersed? I know that there was an application process and the criteria, but there's going to be some additional money as well, correct?
So we did two sets of applications, one for institutions to apply for money based on their budget size. Again, all types of organizations from all around the city. That closed on June 5th. And then our artist application just closed on Wednesday, and we'll be able to fund about 300 artists out of that round, and there's still money left over that will open up a second round. One of the criteria pieces is that they had to show loss of income between March 1st and present time. And some artists said, I'm not going to lose any kind of gigs, jobs, contracts until the summer. And so we're going to extend another deadline to capture those folks who are going to have anticipated loss over the summer and early fall.
So when we're talking about arts and cultural organization, obviously there's so many local artists here. There's a lot of studios, but when we talk about cultural institutions and organizations, are we talking about the ballet troupes? Are we talking about the theater groups? Give us some samples of that.
Sure, it's all of the above. In the major institutions, it's the Phoenix Art Museum, it's the Heard Museum, Ballet Arizona, the Musical Instrument Museum. But then you get down into small community groups like Rosie's House, which is an academy for music for children, Free Arts of Arizona for abused children, Sounds Academy, which is also a youth program. And then you get down into community choirs, community theater, and then getting really into small organizations and startups that are just starting out their journey into being a organization. And because of this pandemic, they're either having to stall, close, or try to figure out how to move forward. And we're hoping that this funding, while it won't solve everyone's problems, at least can relieve a headache or two for these institutions.
Well, your office has been very, very busy, I'm sure. And can you talk about the process? Was there a judging a panel that went through all these applications?
Yeah, so we have an annual community arts grants program that we've had for 20 plus years. And organizations apply to that program, much like they did with the relief funding. And then a panel of community members who are artists, arts professionals, community members. And then we always have an out of state panelist on those panels to help with unbiased panel reviews who don't have conflicts of interest with these organizations. And then they do a review and give a ranking score that then goes to our Phoenix Arts and Culture Commission, which is an advisory body appointed by mayor and council, who then vet them, and then they go to city council for final approval. So there's a lot of community process to ensure that those public funds are being stewarded well by these organizations.
That's just really wonderful. I have a little friend here who wants to say hi. He keeps coming over here. I'm sorry. It's working from home, how that goes. But so let me ask you. Let me ask you this. So that all this criteria and what you've gone through. Your office has changed really throughout, like everybody's offices do. Would you say that all your efforts is pretty much dedicated to making sure our organizations and our artists are surviving, or it's not business as usual right now for you? I see you're working from home as well. We're both teleworking. What's your office like now these days?
Oh, it's an interesting time. I think we celebrated our 12th week of working from home, and our office is small. We are a department of 10 people. So getting to telework was easier than probably some of the larger departments like Public Works, Water Services. But we're still working with the field, and our constituents don't feel any disconnect in service. When the pandemic first struck, we started convening organizations and artists by phone to talk about what they were going through, anticipated loss, the whole feeling of grief. And now we're having conversations about reopening strategies. So we've always kept in contact with our organizations and artists, as well as the general public who want to know when can they go to their theater shows, when can they visit galleries, when is First Friday going to pick up again. So we've really been in this technical assistance mode with our constituents and the residents.
Yeah, I live in District 2 up near the MIM too. So I mean, I love that. So I thank you for defining, it's not just the local artists who are doing the pottery and the paintings, but it's also the organizations and the theater and the museums. Well, you guys do great work. I'm a huge public art advocate and anything with the arts and culture. Anything else you'd like to add about what your office does on a daily basis?
Well, you just mentioned public art. So residents might see sculptures and art all around the city, usually dealing with capital projects, street projects, water projects. And that hasn't stopped. We're currently finalizing a pedestrian bridge that was designed by artists on the new Loop 202. We've got a community well site project, which is turning this old well site by the water department into a parklet into a neighborhood on the west side. So we're also keeping artists engaged and employed, as well as fabricators, through that process as well. So we haven't slowed down, and we're thankful for the work. The arts can sometimes seem less essential, but with Mayor and Council's vote a few weeks ago, it's showing that the art sector is very essential, especially during this time.
Absolutely, we need to look at beauty and beautifying our city, and that is so essential. I'm originally from DC, and I know you spent some time in DC as well. And thank goodness for Lady Bird Johnson, who really beautified our city in DC with all that beautiful flowers surrounding the tidal basin and the White House, and the list goes on and on. So public art is, in my opinion, very essential, especially now during this pandemic, to all bring a smile to us and just remind us of the beautiful desert that we live in. Mitch, thank you so much for joining us today. Really appreciate it, and all the great work you do for the arts and culture in our city.
Thanks for having me this morning.
For Phoenix TV Virtual Reporting, I'm Deborah Cedillo Dugan.